Somebody got charged twice. Same card, same amount, 62 seconds apart. Your logs say the payment service ran once. Support says the customer's statement shows 2. And the message queue in the middle of it all is sitting there, perfectly healthy, green across the board, absolutely certain it did nothing wrong. Here's the thing. The queue is right. It did exactly what it promised. The problem is you believed a promise it never made. So today, on the road, we're going to take apart asynchronous messaging. Queues, delivery guarantees, and the one word that gets thrown around in system design and is very nearly a lie, exactly once. By the end of this drive you should be able to say out loud why duplicate delivery is not a bug, and what you build instead of wishing it away. Let's start with why the queue exists at all. Without a queue, service A calls service B directly and waits. That's a phone call. Both parties have to be awake at the same moment, and if B is slow, A is stuck holding the line. If B is down, the work evaporates. Worse, if traffic triples for 10 minutes, pushes that spike straight into B's face and B falls over. A queue turns the phone call into a mailbox. A drops a message in and walks away. B picks it up whenever it's ready. That single change buys you 3 things. Decoupling, because A no longer needs to know B even exists. Buffering, because the mailbox absorbs the spike so B can drain it at its own pace. And durability, because if B crashes, the message is still sitting in the mailbox waiting. Hold on to that word, mailbox. Because everything that follows comes from one uncomfortable property of mailboxes. When you drop a letter in, you don't actually know it arrived. And when the postman hands one over, he doesn't know for certain you took it. That uncertainty is where the delivery guarantees come from. There are 3, and they are not 3 levels of quality where you just pick the best one. They're 3 different bets. The first is at most once. The producer fires the message and doesn't wait for confirmation. Fast, cheap, and if it gets lost in the network, it's simply gone. Nobody retries. You use this when losing an item costs you nothing, a metrics ping, a user is typing indicator, a log line about a cache hit. Losing one of 10,000 heartbeats doesn't change the picture. The second is at least once. Now the consumer has to acknowledge. It takes the message, does the work, and then sends back an ACK saying done, delete it. If the broker doesn't hear that ACK within a timeout, it assumes the worst and hands the message to someone else. Here is the heart of it. Picture the consumer that charges the credit card. It pulls the message. It calls Stripe. Stripe charges the card successfully. And then 100 milliseconds before the ACK goes out, that machine's network card hiccups. Or the pod gets evicted. Or the garbage collector pauses it for 4 seconds and the broker's timeout is 3. The broker never hears the ACK. So the broker, doing precisely its job, redelivers. A second consumer picks it up and charges the card again. Notice what did not happen there. Nothing failed. No bug, no race condition in your code, no corrupted data. Every component behaved correctly and the customer still got charged twice. That's the caveat I want you to carry, at least once duplicates are not a defect you can debug away. They're the price of not losing messages. Which brings us to the third guarantee, exactly once. And the honest version of the story is that across a network boundary, exactly once delivery is impossible. This is the 2 generals problem wearing a different hat. To know a message arrived you need an acknowledgement, and that acknowledgement is itself a message that can be lost. You can add another ACK for the ACK, forever, and never close the gap. So when Kafka says exactly once semantics, read that last word carefully. Semantics, not delivery. What it actually gives you is atomic writes plus offset commits inside one transaction inside Kafka's own world. The instant your consumer reaches out to something Kafka doesn't control, a database, Stripe, an email provider, the guarantee stops at the door. Here's the move that actually solves this. Stop trying to make delivery exactly once. Make processing idempotent. Idempotent means, doing it twice has the same effect as doing it once. Turning on a light switch is idempotent, flip it up twice, the light is on. Adding $1 to a balance is not. In practice, that's a deduplication key. The producer stamps every message with a stable, meaningful identifier, not a random UUID generated at send time, because a retry would generate a fresh one. Something derived from the intent itself, order 8842, payment attempt 1. The consumer's first act is to insert that key into a table with a uniqueness constraint. If the insert succeeds, this is new work, go do it. If it collides, you've seen this before, acknowledge and drop it on the floor. And crucially, that insert and the actual state change belong in the same transaction. Otherwise, you've just moved the crash window instead of closing it. Real-world anchors. Stripe's entire API is built on this. You pass an idempotency key header, and a retried charge with the same key returns the original result instead of charging again. AWS SQS standard queues are explicitly at least once and tell you plainly to design for duplicates. Kafka gives you ordered, replayable partitions where the consumer's offset is a cursor you own. And every mature queue system has a dead letter queue because a message that fails 10 times is poison, and you park it for a human instead of letting it retry until the heat death of the universe. Let me recap. 5 points. 1. A queue converts a synchronous phone call into a durable mailbox, buying decoupling, buffering, and durability. 2. At most once may lose messages. Use it only where loss is free. 3. At least once may duplicate messages. That is the default in production, and duplicates are correct behavior, not a bug. 4. Exactly once delivery across a network is impossible. Exactly once semantics is a claim scoped to one system's internals and it ends where your side effects begin. 5. The real answer is idempotent consumers, a stable deduplication key, a uniqueness constraint, and the dedupe right in the same transaction as the state change. 3 questions. Say the answers out loud, in the car, before you get where you're going. First, your consumer sends a welcome email, then crashes before acknowledging. What does the user experience, and what one column and what one table would have prevented it? Second, why is a random UUID generated inside the retry loop useless as a deduplication key? Explain the failure step by step. Third, name one operation in a system you've actually worked on that is naturally idempotent, and one that is definitely not. For the second one, what would you make the key? Ride safe. Think in mailboxes.